Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This session is being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. This is a series of spotlights on remarkable business strategists and exit planning advisors from across the country. And joining me on this segment is Kiley Peters. She's the founder of Rayne 9. Kiley, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Kiley, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically let us know who are the types of clients that you specialize in helping.
Yeah, absolutely. So I specifically work with professional service-based women small business owners, and the work I do is primarily based on helping those business owners understand what success looks like to them, because I think so often we get all wrapped up in what success really is, but it's really a very personal thing. So helping women business owners define success for themselves and then build a business strategy that helps to make that a reality. And that may include exiting their business, that may include partnering, that may include liquidating, that may include scaling down or scaling up. It just depends on what it looks like specifically for them.
So you mentioned, what it looks like for them specifically. So it sounds like they may have some preconceived notions about what that should look like. Kind of tell me
Yeah.
what is in their head? What do they think is the problem that they need help with?
So in my experience, what I've come across is one of two things. Specifically with women business owners, there's a lot of pressure to scale because that's always the big sexy thing, right? Scale, 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 and then someday sell your business. But as we know, unfortunately, only about 30% of businesses actually sell. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of owners up until this point that have been super thrilled with their exit. So it's important to make sure that owners have a few options or at least know what their options are. And also, scaling is not necessarily the right solution for everyone. It's not a bad solution, there's nothing wrong with it. But I think so often owners put a lot of pressure on themselves in all areas of life, but especially when it comes to growing their business. And so I think it's just nice to know, hey, what are your goals as a human being? What do you want out of life? How much money do you need to make that happen? And what are the different ways that we can leverage your business to make that happen? It might be an exit, it might be a sale, or you might surprise yourself and be able to build a really lucrative lifestyle business and then someday just call it quits. So yeah, it kind of depends.
As you start working with your clients, do you find any like one or two big glaring like common mistakes you see everybody kind of make that you could warn people about? What are some of the big mistakes or pitfalls you find?
It's going to sound so cliche and repetitive, but really not figuring out what you want. Like, I can't tell you, Mark, how many times I've had these conversations with owners, especially women owners, and we're actually launching a study on this right now, that I'm like, well, what do you want? And they either get really emotional about it or they're just like shocked because no one has ever asked them that. And as owners, we're spending so much of our lives dedicated to building this business, but we don't have a clear direction all of the time as to where we're going and why we're going there and what we want out of it. So really take some time to figure out, like, what does success mean to you? Don't look at, like, keeping up with the Joneses, but for you and your family and your life and your lifestyle and your expenses, etc. What does that really look like for you? And then I would say, so that would be the first thing is really define success for yourself. And the second thing would be to team up with a badass tax strategist who can make sure that you're not just throwing away money that you don't need to be doing. So those are like my two big things.
That makes sense. It's because it sounds like driving down the road with your GPS on, but without a destination like plugged into it.
Yes, that's exactly it. And it's like, that's cool. It's going to be a fun journey, but like, where are you going?
So, Kiley, what's it like to work with a business strategist like you? Can you kind of unpack that for us a little bit? Like, what are the areas? Kind of give us a 10,000-foot view of how you work with clients.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm a consultant and a coach. So a consultant, strategist, and coach, and we also focus a lot on operational efficiencies. So when I'm working with a client, I'm going to first ask, like, well, what do you want? Let's start there. Let's start with you as an owner, as a human being. For you, your family, whatever that is, What do you want? So that's, we call that defining owner success. And then once we get really clear on that, we go into aligning business success. And we dive into business strategy. And if you haven't already figured out your mission, vision, values, we'll go through that work. If you have, great. We'll get really clear on exactly who your audience is, what your key marketing messages are. We're going to go through productizing your services, because it's very difficult to manage a business without pulling your hair out if you're customizing every single thing that you put out there. So we'll go through that. We'll go through AGI calculations to make sure you're hitting your profit margins. We go through financial projections, which is where I get really excited and geek out. And most of my clients are like, thank God somebody else is doing this. And then we'll also go through putting together a roadmap for you personally as well as professionally to make sure you have a game plan to how to actually make all the things you want happen. And then we also offer branding services if that's of interest to a client. And then we also offer what we call our operational freedom roadmap, because it's been my experience that a lot of owners have piecemealed together solutions and they're not really leveraging technology to their greatest advantage. And we can save so much time, which is the one thing that we never get back, right? We never get more time. But you can save so much time by leveraging different technologies. And I've been running a service-based organization for the last 6 years now. And I feel like I've gone through the trenches. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars and thousands of hours trying to find the right solutions for this specific type of business. And so we can help put together those strategies and then implement them for our clients as well. And then we have some opportunities for ongoing engagements and strategy sessions, et cetera, or ongoing business support. But it's really my goal to help as many women business owners crush it as possible. I want to help them make as much money and live the best lives as they can. So whatever I can do to help make that happen is where my focus is.
Lots of moving parts for a successful business, and I could see why they could use a great guide. Kiley, what inspired you to get into this field and get into this work? How did you get started?
Oh man, you want the Cliff Notes version?
Sure.
We'll give you the Cliff Notes version. So about 6 years ago, I started a digital marketing agency and have been loving my work doing that. I'm a digital marketer by trade for the last 15 plus years. A couple of years ago, I had a client reach out to me and said, I want to exit my business. Can you help me with that? And I was like, I want to be really clear. I have no experience doing that, but it sounds fascinating and I will learn everything I can if you're okay with that. And she was like, yeah, great. I was like, okay. So that led me to Exit Planning Institute. I became a CEPA. I started working with Exit Planning Institute on a consulting basis, helping to grow their marketing team, which is just killing it right now. And along the way, I realized that I am really good at business strategy and operational infrastructure and the operations of running a business. And I've had a lot of business owners reach out to me and say, how are you doing this? What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. This is over my head. I don't want to do this stuff. And I'm like, well, this is what I geek out on. So last year, I launched Rayne 9 as a consultancy to help small business owners, because I mean, small business owners, in my opinion, are really what keeps the economy growing. And I think there's just so much good in the world. But I encourage everybody to operate in their zone of genius. And so often small business owners are wearing a million hats, and that's not their greatest opportunity for contribution to the world. So my goal is to help all business owners, specifically women business owners, identify their zone of genius, live in their zone of genius, and then I'm happy to help them figure out all of the different moving pieces to help make their business successful and run smoothly.
Right on. Kiley, before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think to ask that you feel is important to share regarding, business strategy or growth or even exit planning? Anything important you feel like you should share with business owners today that I didn't think to ask?
Great question. I will just recap and say, define success for yourself, leverage technologies, and put on your blinders when it comes to comparing yourself to everyone else. I'll also toss out that I do a series of workshops called the DNA of Success Workshop Series. Stands for Definition and Alignment of Success. I work one-on-one with owners right now. Starting this fall, though, and then moving into next year, we'll be doing quarterly group workshops throughout the country. So definitely check that out if that's of any interest. I just really want to help everybody live their best life.
Fantastic. For women business owners listening to the program who would love to speak with you, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Absolutely. So you can visit rayneix.com. That's RAYNEIX.com. You can also reach me at Kiley, Kiley, at RAYNEIX.com. So Kiley at rayne9.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, and you can find me on Instagram, Kiley Peters, Kiley, Peters on Instagram. Yeah, would love to hear from anybody. And then you can also check out my podcast at Welcome to Eloma.
Kiley, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you so much. It's been a blast.
That was Kiley Peters, founder of Rayne, and this segment's brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com, the place where busy professionals and entrepreneurs get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.